Hey everyone, welcome to another video, and today we're covering Rumble mid lane. Now, this has been a video that I've really wanted to do because there are so many polarizing opinions on this champion. You've got players like Doinby, Niski, and Went, the NA Challenger one-trick player, playing this champion in very differing ways, building differently, and taking very different runes. Now, I thought the best way to learn this champion was to do it myself. I spammed a lot of this champion, and I actually got to Challenger for the first time this season, peaking at around 500 LP, only playing Rumble. Blind pick every single game, no matter where I am in the drafts. And this champion, not only is it really good in solo queue, it's incredibly fun. So let's get into the details, guys. And we're going to cover every single element of Rumble. Let's start off by talking about the rune pages, guys. The first one here is the Electrocute page. Now, this is the page that the NA Challenger one-trick player goes every single game. And I'll get into a little bit more details why he goes this page, but again, it's a stylistic difference. Generally, if you're going this page, you want to pair it with Ignite, and you're going for a lot more solo kills and a very burst-oriented way of playing Rumble. Just in, go, get the kill, and then get out. You're not playing the 50-50 tether style of Rumble with ease and you know, proccing your Scorch and things like that. You're very going all in, Ignite, kill. Now, the strength, I personally find this is a very good page in lower range matchups. I like taking it versus champions like Sylas, Fizz, Echo, Zed, etc. All these lower range matchups where I know I'm going to be very close range. I know I can reliably proc the Electrocute. Now, he goes Electrocute here with Taste of Blood, pretty self-explanatory. You can reliably proc Taste of Blood with your Q whenever it's off cooldown. You can go Ghost Poro or Eyeball Collection. Eyeball Collection is just good because, again, you're a very fast champion that's going to be going for a lot of kills. So Eyeball Collection makes a lot of sense, although Ghost Poro is equally viable. And then you want to finish that off with Ravenous Hunter. Incredibly good scaling with Rumble because you get so much healing with your Q. It's just really, really, really nice. Then on the other hand here in the sorcery tree, you actually have Nimbus Cloak and Scorch. Now, Nimbus Cloak is actually what makes Rumble viable in my opinion. Now, Nimbus Cloak can be used two ways, both defensively and offensively. The great thing about Nimbus Cloak with Ignite is that when you're chasing someone down, you want to go for that all-in kill. They basically can't escape you. You ignite them, you chase them, and if they flash, you get the extra movement speed. You're always going to be on top of them and able, more importantly, proc your overheated auto attack. That's what makes Nimbus Cloak so nice. You can stick onto them and it just punch them to death with your overheated auto attack. That's why I love Nimbus Cloak, and it's absolutely essential if you are playing Rumble mid lane. You can also go Absolute Focus or Water Walking instead of Scorch, but I still think Scorch is the most reliable rune purely because it's so... You can just proc it whenever you want. Because Rumble, the Flame Spitter is AoE, you can just sit in the middle of the wave. You can flick your Flame Spitter on and then instantly turn around just to get that one proc off of the Scorch and get a really, really nice trade for free. So Scorch is really good on champions where you can reliably proc it, and Rumble is one of those. And because Rumble is a lot of the time staying healthy in lane, very similar to Galio in that sense, Absolute Focus is also viable. But again, I just think that Scorch just pips them at the end there, and then double adaptive and MR or armor, whatever you need. Now, the second rune page, this is personally my favorite and the most versatile rune page. This is one that can go well with both heal or ignite, and it really depends on your style of playing Rumble. Now, the great thing about Comet, in my opinion, is that you don't feel the need to all in. You can get reliable forms of trades in lane just by flicking on your Flame Spitter, proccing your Comet, and proccing the Scorch, and then turning back and then just farming safely with your E. You don't feel the need to go for that 100-0 all-in flash ignite kill. You can slowly chunk them out of the lane. And the other great thing about this rune page, guys, is that when it gets to mid-game or you're in some form of standoff, you don't really feel the need to all in and go. You can just sit back, throw a few E's out, throw a few, maybe tether with your Q, proc the Comet, turn back. You don't feel the need to go all in. It's a much more calculated way of playing Rumble, in my opinion. But again, if you're in the lower range matchup, there's no point in going Comet because Electrocute is just going to do more damage in those extended trades. Now, again, if you're going Comet, you want to go Nimbus Cloak, you want to go Absolute Focus or Water Walking, either of them work, and then Scorch, as we said before, same thing, Taste of Blood, Ravenous Hunter, double adaptive in either Armor and MR, for the exact same reasons as I mentioned in the previous page. And again, the great thing about this page as well is if you're in a high range matchup versus a tough, a counter pick, something like Syndra or, something like that, or Victor, you can minimize, you can take heal, you can get that Comet proc without taking too much damage, because again, you're never going to proc, in my opinion, Electrocute versus high range matchups. And that's why I think that Comet is better in those high range matchups. Now, Doinby also goes for Predator sometimes. Now, I don't recommend this page unless you are incredibly high elo, because in the high elo games in Korea or EU or China, the games are played incredibly fast. So there's fights everywhere. So if any of you have actually watching this who have played in Korean solo queue and high elo in Korea, you know that there's a fight here, 1 minute, 30 seconds later, there's another fight, and then they're fighting here and here and here. There's just so many fights. Now, what Predator does, it allows you to either tempo reset incredibly well. You can take a bad trade, reset, come out of base with your Predator, or you can literally just like, you know what? I'm leaving mid lane. I want to go to a side lane, get to those fights incredibly quickly. And it's just a lot more roam centric, not interact with mid lane at all, roam to sides, fight, rune. And I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're incredibly high elo and know all the fundamentals and know exactly how that you're going to utilize this Predator specifically. And again, exact same runes, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Nimbus Cloak with Scorch, exact same premise. And you can take TP with this one as well for more of those tempo resets. Now, diving into the summoners, guys, I generally only recommend 2, although there's a third choice here. Now, the main 2 is Heal and Ignite. Now, let's start with Heal. Now, heal is better for 2v2s because obviously it's AoE and you can heal both you and your teammate. More importantly, it gives you a little bit more utility with that movement speed. So heal is always been known to be a better summoner in 2v2s. The great thing about heal as well is that it's better in slower games. Because Ignite, I feel like, is a very lane-centric rune. You have to use it in the first 8 minutes of the game to get that solo kill or early fight off. Whereas heal, nothing really happens in the early game. You're going to be playing for skirmishes and 2v2s. Heal just scales a little bit better. And it's better for slow fights where you're not just all-inning. You actually want to play back a little bit. You maybe tether with your Q and E, throw some electric harpoons out. It's a much more slower, calculated rune. If you are opting in for a much faster pace of the game, you want to go for solo kills, you're in a lower range matchup, quite aggressive, like I said, Silas, Fizz, Zed, any of these matchups, Ignite is really great because you can utilize pretty much Ignite guaranteed, and more importantly, you know it's going to be a heavy trading matchup, so Ignite really comes in handy. Generally as well, Ignite's good when you want to play fights fast, and that's why it synergizes very well with Electrocute, because you want to go in, get that burst off, get that kill, and then get out. You don't want to be sticking around very long. And it synergizes well with your Overheat. And the way the Electrocute page works is, you want to do your full combo, Overheat, auto attack, Ignite, get the kill, and then get out. Because again, if you're overheating in a fight and not getting a kill, you're just going to be useless for 6 seconds. Now, you can also go TP if you're going for that Predator page, purely because you can play for tempo resets, come back, shove the wave, Predator to a side lane, rinse, repeat. I wouldn't really recommend it, again, for the average person. It's very much a high elo rune, in my opinion. Alright guys, so now we're going to cover one of the more controversial sections of my slideshow. This is the build section. So if you have any questions about or any concerns about what I'm about to say in this slide, drop a comment below and I will get back to you. So let's first cover the entire build and then we'll loop back to each of the specific important little details that you really need to understand. So the ending build usually looks like Sorks, Liandry's, Morellonomicon, Zhonya's, Rabadon's, and Void Staff. Now, the first controversial thing starts at Doran's Ring versus Doran's Shield. Now, I'm personally a massive advocate for Doran's Shield. The main reason being is that I think that Rumble as a champion gets unlocked at 1100 gold, which allows you to get your Sork treads. Now, the reason tier 2 boots are so important in my opinion on Rumble is because it not only allows you to roam much more effectively, it allows you to play for tempo bases much more effectively, and more importantly, it allows you to navigate trades much easier. Because Rumble is a melee champion that relies on his E is a skill shot, the Q is a short range ability that requires you turning in and out, tethering the opponent, walking forward with your W and your movement speed to dodge skill shots. Your whole kit revolves around movement speed. If you have low movement speed, it's going to be hard for you to get a range to hit your Q. It's going to be hard for you to hit your E. And more importantly, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to dodge any of the enemy's abilities, and which is basically going to render your champion useless. So tier 2 boots are incredibly important, and I literally rush Sorks nearly every single game. Now, tying it back to the first item, I find that Doran's Shield basically guarantees that I can get to this item for free. I don't really need to base because there's so much inbuilt sustain with Doran's Shield. It's just nuts. Now, there are matchups where are going to be a lot more heavy trading in the early game. Maybe you're going to be versing a low range melee champion like a Fizz, Silas, etc. You can go Doran's Ring, especially when you're going Ignite with Electrocute, and you want to be going for those early, maybe early solo kills, just early trades in general. Then Doran's Ring probably is a little bit more effective, but I would say 80% of the time, Doran's Shield just feels much better, and is a great way to minimize your pre-6 to get to this 1100 gold. Now, you always want to be rushing your Liandry's here into either Oblivion Orb or straight, getting your Oblivion Orb and actually straight skipping Morellonomicon into your Zhonya's or finishing your Morellonomicon. Now, this is, again, another controversial topic. I still feel like it's worth 85-90% of the time to actually finish your Morellonomicon purely because the durability and the burst is really, really nice. And it's only worth sitting on Oblivion Orb if the enemy team is not building any MR at all. But if they are building MR, then I just like to finish my Morellonomicon and actually go straight into Void Staff. Now, early recalls. If you get forced out of base, or out of lane early, you can go back for, and I highly recommend you going tier 1 boots because of how important MS is. But more importantly, refillable. Refillable is extremely important on Rumble because you're a melee champion. A lot of the time, taking a lot of nasty trades. It just complements you a lot because you can take tempo resets and refill that potion whenever you want. Although you can also go for Amplifying Tomb if you're sitting on a very awkward amount of gold like 900, where you can go tier 1 boots and Amplifying Tomb as well. If you are versing a heavy AD champion, you can sit on a cloth armor or a very heavy AD comp. You can actually rush straight into Seekers, but I don't do this too often because I still feel like sitting on cloth armor and then going straight into Liandry's is just much better because Liandry's is such a big spike for Rumble. Now, another thing to note, guys, and why I've actually got a pink little box around this Fiendish Codex, is that when you're finished building your Morellos or your Oblivion Orb and you're working towards your Zhonya's, I personally feel like building this item, your Fiendish Codex, first as the first component of your Zhonya's is very nice because it's cheap. You get a nicer bit of CDR, and CDR is very important on Rumble because you're so ultimate reliant. I see a lot of people rush Seekers when they don't really need to. I feel like a lot of the time the CDR is just more beneficial at that point in the game. So don't feel the need just to get Seekers just because it's more expensive. I personally value this CDR, so when you do get up to that point, experiment with both of them and see what you like more. And if the CDR is important to you, go for Fiendish Codex first. Lastly, we need to cover boots. Now, Rumble's very unique in the sense that he feels so nice with Magic Pen. Magic Pen is such an important part of Rumble's identity because of how damage focused and how much damage, his threat comes from the amount of damage, not from any other element of his kit. Now, and because he doesn't have any hard CC and he's low range, he needs to have a lot of threat, otherwise he's basically rendered useless. You're never going to be a tanky CC utility-oriented champion. So that's why I feel like I stray away from Mercs and Tarbis, because the threat I get from Sorks and the amount of kill threat and teamfight threat I get from Sorks generally outweighs survivability in that sense. There are some rare cases where I do go Mercs if I'm versing a very heavy CC comp like Galia, Elise, etc. But 95% of the time you want to be going Sorks because you need that Magic Pen. And again, I very, very rarely go Tarbis unless I'm literally versing a full AD comp because I know I can get plenty of armor from my Seekers, and I, again, still value the Magic Pen extremely highly. So if you have any questions, guys, about builds, it's quite straightforward, but if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. But the best way, guys, with builds is just try it and see what feels best. Building and the feeling of a champion, it all comes down to just seeing what feels best for you. Now into the matchup tier list, guys. Again, this is another controversial section. This is, again, just my opinion, but I've got a few things highlighted here. Again, we've got at the top, we've got the S tier, what I think are the easiest matchups, all the way to the D tier. Now, something interesting to note here, guys. Let's start with the D tier. We've got two champions highlighted in D tier. We've got Kassadin and we've got Syndra. Now, Kassadin and Syndra are in D tier for two differing reasons, just as Orianna and Zed are in A tier for two differing reasons. Kassadin, on one hand, is a champion where, yes, you do get a lot of early pressure against Kassadin. You can push him in whenever you want. You can roam, do things like that. But it kind of feels like Rumble as a champion isn't able to keep down Kassadin like other champions can, because you're so low range, you have no CC, and you have no gank setup. So Kassadin is always guaranteed to get a free laning phase. And because Rumble's range is so low, Kassadin can just easily farm under tower, because Rumble can't poke people under tower. On the other hand, Syndra is the complete opposite. You basically never get pressure against Syndra. She's always going to be pushing you in, and is one of the hardest matchups for Rumble. And one of the VODs we're going to cover today is me playing this matchup specifically. Then you've got here Ryze. Now, Ryze, again, is a champion that you can outpace. You can play for push and move, influence the map before Ryze can really do anything. But again, I found that he spikes so hard at Lost Chapter and tier that he can just push you in, outbully you off the wave at such a short amount of, so early on in the game, and just outscale you hard. Generally, Ryze really struggles against a lot of CC and a lot of threat and a lot of range, and Rumble doesn't offer any of that. Which is a bit annoying. And then you've got the A tier ones, which are favorable but not complete stomps. Again, Orianna and Zed for very different reasons. Rumble versus Zed, in my opinion, is great because Zed's never going to have any roam opportunities. Zed can never really 100-0 you because you're too tanky with your build path, and it's really easy to build Seekers. And you're not mana reliant, so Zed's not going to get an advantage through mana. Making the other person go whereas Orianna, on the other hand, again, yes, Orianna can beat Rumble at like Ludens or GLP, but by that point, Rumble's done too much in the game. He's probably influenced the map so much. They've got a dragon, they've got Rift Herald, they've dived aside, they've done something, and the game is just played too fast for Orianna, and because Orianna is so mana hungry, she's never going to have enough mana to bully out Rumble without just, you know, Rumble's just going to proc the scrap shield with the Doran shield. And he's not going to take enough damage to get poked down. He's just going to push and move, not interact with Orianna. So, again, you must optimize your runes and your gameplay when playing all these matchups, guys. If you just play Electrocute with Ignite every single one of these matchups, some of them, it's all going to be different. This matchup tier list is if you are optimizing your runes, optimizing the way you play the game. And again, it's very hard to do a tier list, again, as a champion like Rumble, because he's not about the 1v1. He's about the 2v2. He's about the map. He's about macro. So I had a lot of trouble doing this tier list. But again, this is very vague, overarching tier list to give you a bit of direction. But again, it's best for you guys to try it out yourself and see what you struggle with given your interpretation of Rumble as a champion. Now for my take, guys, on Rumble's identity. Number one, guys, Rumble loves immobile targets. So whenever I see a champion like Victor with no flash, or Varus with no flash, or Misfortune with no flash, or even Ashe with no flash, or Draven with no flash, any of these immobile champions, I'm in heaven. I love it. I know I can put my equalizer down, especially when they're next to a wall. They have no gap closes. They can't get out of it. They have just to walk along the red carpet. And so I have a lot of threat on those specific champions. Rumble prefers a faster, more chaotic game pace. He wants people heavy trading in sides. He wants people blowing summoners. He wants people dying, trading, heavy trading. He wants chaos because Rumble, again, revolves around pushing and moving. Skirmishing champion. Push the pace of the game. Go, go, go. From level 6, from Sork Boots, you are very, very strong and thrive in those situations. Very roam-centric champion. Loves river skirmishes, mid-jungle 2v2s. Loves heavy trading side lanes. This is a massive part of Rumble's identity. When you're in a game as Rumble, when the side laners are both heavy trading, you're in heaven. You have so many opportunities. You can go top, influence that matchup. So maybe you're versing Darius versus Riven top. They're both heavy trading. You're versing an Orianna mid. You're like, all right, Catch you later, Oriana. I'm just gonna go check out my buddy Darius in top lane, kill this Riven. He's gonna say 15 FF. Oh my god, mid difference, and then I get a free win. So I love heavy trading side laners because in these very snowball heavy side lane matchups. On the other hand, if I'm versing Maokai versus Ornn, who's barely trading, or Ornn versus Mundo or whatever, it's not really what I want because it's going to be hard for me to roam to that side lane because there's no kill threat. Loves any form of objective fight, dragons, red buffs, barons, rifts held, any of them, because people are clumped up, they're going to be in choke points. It's very easy for me to utilize my AoE. Extremely ultimate reliant in mid game. You need your ultimate in mid game. If you don't have your ultimate, you're a shell of a champion that you would have been otherwise. Wants to play fights fast and engage heavy. So, for example, if you're paired with champions like, Ziggs 80 carry and, Ezreal, a lot of poking champions, it's very hard for Rumble to find or know what to do because Rumble wants to play fights fast. He wants to layer the ultimate down. He wants to go in, flash in, Q, E, slow, go, 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 go. When the fights are played slow and everyone's spread out, Rumble doesn't really know how to navigate that fight. That's why Rumble loves forcing objectives, because people are forced to come in, they're forced to play the fight where I can layer my ultimate down. So that's why Rumble's best paired with dive-heavy champions like, Rek'Sai and Jarvan and Ornn, all these champions that just want to go forward. Rumble is actually not a 1v9 champion, needs a winning role to make plays with. So if Rumble's fed but both the side lanes are losing, it's actually not a good game for Rumble. Rumble's a champion where you need to identify one winning side and play towards it. If you have two losing sides, because a large part of Rumble's identity is roaming, if you can't roam, you're in a very sticky situation because Rumble can't poke the enemy under tower. Most champions like Oriana, Syndra, Cassio, all these Azir, they can poke the enemy under tower, which makes them, even if their sides are losing, they can still push their lead. But Rumble, for example, if your side lane are losing, the enemy can just farm under tower quite easily and minimize. It's not hard. Rumble's threat comes from roaming, so you need a winning side. Now, there's actually 3 ways to play the early laning phase on Rumble, and we will get into a few different examples as we get into the VOD section, but I quickly just want to roughly cover them. The first one is the slow, patient method. Now, I generally do this when I'm versing very strong, low cooldown early laners such as Syndra, Zoe, and Azir. This is where I know I can't contest them 1v1 early because my level 1-2 is very weak. I just have to sit back, CS with my E, take a chill pill, get to my key item spikes, but just, respect them in the early game. The second one I find is the most common. This is generally when you don't really have an immediate objective in mind. You don't want to give the enemy priority, but you don't really want to push him because maybe you don't have too much river control. Maybe you're scared of getting ganked. You just want to minimize to a key item spike. Playing neutral. This is just holding the wave in the middle, thinning it with Q, maybe poking with your Q every now and then, because if you actually push the enemy in, it's going to be very hard for you to poke with Q, because then you're going to be very deep in the lane because of how low range Rumble is. So if you just want to reliably poke the enemy, keeping in the middle is the best way to go about it. But I do this in probably I would say 70% of matchups. Then the third one, guys, is actually hard job for early priority. Now, there's generally 2 situations I do this. I do this in lanes where I'm versing a champion that really struggles to CS under tower or hates getting pushed in. Like Zillion, Malzahar, and Nivea. So they hate CSing under tower because they go very quickly. And more importantly, if they're focusing their attention on the minions, you just get a free lane. So they're those sorts of matchups. But more importantly, if I'm paired with a jungler that's going to be invading a lot, and I know it's not about the 1v1 and it's more about the 2v2, so maybe my Graves is doing a vertical jungle, maybe my Jarvan's level 2 invading the enemy Ivern or something, then I just push, and back up my jungler, so it's less about the 1v1 and more about the 2v2. Now, Rumble's item journey is so unique. It's one of the most unique experiences in League of Legends I've probably ever had. There's no other champion that really feels like Rumble in my opinion. So let's actually start with the starting item. So Rumble as a champion, he's not weak but not strong. Doran's Ring, Doran's Shield, you're just at like your neutral average state. If you're forced to base early for a tier 1 boots or an amplifying tomb, you are incredibly weak. This is Rumble's weakest point in the entire game. So you generally want to minimize fighting or minimize anything at this point in time, unless it's a favorable 2v2 matchup. Because again, if any early fights are going to happen, it's generally in this moment. Generally, there's this weird gap. If you're forced to base before Sorks, like, I hate forcing fights in this little section here. So try to minimize fights in this section. But once you get to your Sorks, this is where Rumble really opens up. Like I said before, of how important the magic pen is, how well Rumble can actually utilize MS. Sorks is a great spike for Rumble. Now, once you get Leandries, this is where you come into, this is where you shift a gear to a higher gear. This is when Rumble, really comes to fruition. Once you get Leandries, you are God mode. You are so incredibly powerful. You're basically never going to lose a dragon fight, Rift Herald fight. You are incredibly strong. Your burst, your threat is through the roof. Now, the unique thing about Rumble, though, as long as you farm well, you don't die, you don't get behind, maybe you get a kill or two, you stay at this level. You actually stay at this God mode for 2, 3, 4 items. It's ridiculous. And there's no other champion that I've ever felt that really does this. Yes, there are some assassins that really spark off one item and they go. But even then, I feel like they have like dips and troughs, whereas Rumble just keeps going. If you're ahead, you will stay ahead as long as you build the core items. Now, this is only the case if you don't get behind, guys. If you get behind, your life is a living hell. Rumble is probably one of the worst champions in the entire game if you get behind. So you've got to be very, very careful about that. But if you get ahead, you will stay ahead. The other thing I want you to note, guys, is look how early you spike compared to other champions. This is 1100 gold. You spike at 1100 gold. And more importantly, it's your boots. So it's not like you have to spend 300 gold on tier 1 boots and then get to 1300 gold for Lost Chapter, which is 1600 gold in total. It's straight up 1100 gold for your tier 2 boots. This is how early Rumble spikes compared to other champions. And this really says to me this is actually one of the reasons why Rumble, in my opinion, is so strong in solo queue. Again, this is just my interpretation of how I perceive Rumble's strength. I've just found that item really just feels completely different. Like the jump in power between this and this is ridiculous. Now, moving ahead, we got to get into micro, because micro on Rumble is very important to understand, and there are a few unique interactions that you need to understand in order to utilize the champion to its highest ability. And I actually wish there was someone explaining to me what I'm about to tell you right now, when I first picked up this champion. Because my micro on this champion was absolutely disgraceful, and I just had to grind it out the hard way. So this will save you a lot of time, guys. The first one is you should never ever have your R on Smartcast. If you have your R on Smartcast, you can have a very bad time. Trust me, try it and practice tool, it will feel much better. The next one's very interesting. You want to be using the S key or the stand still key to maximize Q poke in lane without overextending. And in my next slide, guys, I'm going to show you an example of how to utilize the S key. Next is you need to take time practicing watching the heat gauge. So literally, I've noticed in my own gameplay, I spend time like you would watching your mana pool. I always take into account my heat gauge, and I don't just look at it in terms of where it is. I actually look at it in terms of the number. I actually look at the number. If it's on 60, I know that 20 my scrap shield, 20 in my flame spitter, I'm going to be overheated. So I look for specific numbers. I look for numbers like 70. I look for numbers like 50, because if I do 50, I know I can do scrap shield and flame spitter and still not overheat and be on 90. So you really got to pay attention and take time when learning Rumble, because if you don't look at your heat gauge at all, you're going to be overheating a lot, or you're not going to be in the nice sweet spot. You're going to have a lot of trouble with this champion. So take the time to look at it. The next one is you want to minimize overheating before a fight, because you are essentially useless for 6 seconds. You're literally useless for 6 seconds if you overheat. So you must be very careful. You must be very, very careful when you overheat, and you also need to maximize your time in the danger zone. The danger zone is, the second half of your bar when it's yellow, or is it yellow, orange, whatever. You really want to maximize the time in there, because again, all of your abilities actually level up. So keep in mind, guys, this is the last point. So keep in mind, guys, that while in the danger zone, when you're above 50 heat, it's not just your flame spitter that gets more damage. Your flame spitter gets more damage, your shield actually gets bigger, and you get more movement speed. The harpoon actually does more damage and more slows. I literally did not even know this after the first... It took me about 25 games on Rumble to realize, wait, when I use my W and my E when I'm in the danger zone, I actually get more MS and more damage with my harpoon. Like, I was bamboozled. I had to, like, look at the league wiki. I'm like, holy crap, that makes so much sense. So, I always thought that it was just the flame spitter that did more damage. No, it's every single ability levels up or gets better when you're in the danger zone. So I just want to quickly show you a little clip here of me using the S key to take a favorable trade. So it just adds a little bit of context when you're asking yourself, like, what the hell is Curtis talking about using the S key? This is exactly what I mean. Just to give a little bit of context here, I'm level 9 playing Rumble versus a Silas. I've just used my scrap shield here to put me at 50 heat here, so I know I'm going to head into the danger zone very, very good. I've got my 2 stacks of my electric harpoon, and I've got my flame spitter ready. So just check this out. Walk up, Silas goes, I dodge the E. Now look at this. Flame spitter, stand still, flame spitter, stand still. Notice how I was able to tether the Silas there by standing still. If I clicked forward instead of using the S key, I wouldn't have been able to tether as accurately, and Silas would have been in auto attack range or probably even get in W range or something like that if I wasn't able to use that key. So that is exactly why you need to use the S key for trades. Now for Rumble Micro Part 2, guys. So you must understand how Overheat actually works, because if you don't, you're not going to get the maximum amount of damage while playing Rumble. So what I recommend is actually go into Practice Tool and get used to the feeling of, oh, okay, Flame Spitter's 20, Scrap Shield's 20, Electric Harpoon's 10, how it feels like, how long it takes, how easy it is to get back into the danger zone, etc. You really got to get the feel for the champion. Now, this is incredibly important to understand, guys. If Rumble casts Electric Harpoon to the E before overheating, he can still use the next charge within 3 seconds. So this actually leads me to the max damage combo. And especially if you're playing the Went style of Electrocute Ignite, this is exactly how he bursts people. He gets into the danger zone with Scrap Shield, gets the movement speed, uses the first E here, uses the Flame Spitter, he starts to overheat here, he gets his 100 heat, and he can still use the second Harpoon to slow to get into auto attack range in overheat, because you can use if you just use your Electric Harpoon before going into overheat, you can still use the second charge. So a big mistake, guys, is people actually wait too long to use the second harpoon while overheating, and it actually expires. So just because you have 2 stacks, you only have, I believe, like a few seconds to actually use the second stack of the electric harpoon while being overheated. And another mistake, guys, is sometimes I see people go overheat and they don't use harpoon at all, thinking, oh, I have 2 stacks, I'm in overheat, I can use both. That's not how it works at all. You actually got to use one of them before you go into overheat. Then you can actually use the second one. So again, it's better to go into Practice Tool and try this for yourself rather than just listening to me like this. But this, if you understand this will be how you get maximum damage with your combos. And trust me, it is worth spending the time in Practice Tool really refining this specific skill, guys, because this is every bit of damage on Rumble is incredibly important. Now for the biggest mistakes and misconceptions about Rumble. I see a lot of Rumble players, and this is all things I felt myself when first playing Rumble. I always felt the need to rush, get things done really quickly in the early game, and what it actually did was it led me to overcommitting and making these unnecessarily risky plays, because I always thought to myself, Curtis, you got to go, like, you don't scale well, you're versing like a Victor, you got to do something. This is not the case. Rumble scales completely fine. Relax to your Sork treads. If a fight breaks out, you will get there, you will win that fight. If a roam opportunity presents itself, go to it. Don't force or overcompensate because you feel you're going to get outscaled or something. That's just not the case. So get rid of this. It's just not the case at all, guys. Rumble, and so another problem is actually they don't adapt with no flash. So Rumble is incredibly immobile. Your only form of self-peel is your Scrap Shield, which is a very small movement speed boost, and a little bit of shield. You don't have any gap closers. You're a melee champion. You have to commit a lot for trades. So when you don't have flash, you got to adapt. You got to play around your vision. You got to play around your jungler. You have to change the way you play your lane. Rumbles don't utilize their ability to tempo reset. This is a big strength of Rumble. Any champion that has insane wave clear has the ability to do this. They have the ability to tempo reset. Just like Rise. Just like, what's another champion with really good wave clear? Galio, another one with really good wave clear. Any of these champions with great wave clear, you can sacrifice your HP for the wave to get a tempo reset. And especially on Rumble, because you're going tier 2 boots so early, you can come back to lane so quickly. Shove the wave, sacrifice your HP, come back, boom, come back with refreshed wards, more HP, maybe more pots, etc. Whatever you need, maybe an amplifying tomb. You can play these tempo resets. You need to be able to utilize this as a concept. Rumbles that don't take into account jungle location when making macro decisions. I learned this the hard way, guys. When playing Rumble, you're going to be in this mindset where you want to push and roam, influence the map, do things. But if your jungler's basing or in base or really low on the other side of the map, you shouldn't be making a play bot if your jungler's trying to dive top lane. You need to be very conscious about where your jungler's location is, because this largely dictates your decisions macro-wise. If your jungler's hovering bot looking for a lane gank, you should probably push and move and back them up. If your jungler's full cleared, no HP, about to recall, you shouldn't be invading the enemy jungler looking for a pick. You should be playing with your jungler. Rumble's a 2v2 champion. Once you can internalize this and feel the strength of playing with your jungler, you're going to be on a whole different wavelength, trust me. Rumbles don't understand the change in threat level of flashless targets. Wow, this one's a big one. Once you understand, if you're versing a Varus with no flash, or a Misfortune with no flash, or a Victor with no flash, or Orianna with no flash, your level of threat with ultimate on that champion is so high. Trust me, like, once you feel it, it's ridiculous. And a big mistake of Rumbles, and I did this myself, I wasn't timing flashes, and people with no flash, I was just missing opportunities because I didn't know how much threat I had. When you go into a game, when you're playing Rumble, guys, trust me, you see an immobile target with no flash, put your ultimate onto them, and you will see how easy it is to make plays, guys. Because this will literally, if you know who does and doesn't have flash, this will help dictate the correct macro decision. And the last one here, pushers 24/7 make themselves vulnerable. Because you're a champion that, again, is in this pushing mindset, a big mistake I see people do is they push, 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 not taking into account jungle location, not taking into account how much when they're basing. They just push all the time, make themselves vulnerable, and actually die to ganks. As we all know in League of Legends, you're never always going to be pushing. It's always a back and forth. You're going to give one wave, stack a wave. You're going to give a bit of pressure here, come back, get pressure then. It's always a seesaw of pressure. You're never just going to be push, push, push. So keep that in mind, guys. Now, a few tips for mastering Rumble. Rumble cannot be played with a scared mindset. You must push limits on this champion. If you're not pushing limits, you will not understand the strength of this champion. You will have to int to learn. Very similar to Galio in that sense. Very similar to Zoe in that sense as well. Champions where you need to push limits and they're very aggressive, early spiking champions. That is the best way to learn Rumble. You cannot be indecisive. Rumble is a champion. If you see a roam opportunity and you think it's a good one, go for it. Exact same with Ultimate. If you think it's a good ult, go for it. You can't hesitate. There's only a few moments in the game where you can influence. If you don't see them or you don't capitalize on them, you're not utilizing the most of your champion's potential, okay? So you cannot afford to be indecisive, and this will be how you learn on Rumble. Decisiveness. Next, Rumble requires side lane awareness, tempo assessment, and roaming fundamentals for maxed effectiveness. Now, this is an interesting one here, guys. One of the big reasons I picked up Rumble was because I wanted to, one of my weaknesses as a player and something I'm personally working on is my level of side lane awareness and working on my skirmish assessment. And I thought that if I pick Rumble, he'd be a great champion to learn, even if I lose a bit of elo at the start, because I actually had like a 40, 30-something% win rate on Rumble at the start, and I got it all the way up to 53% because I learnt the fundamentals of roaming, side lane awareness, tempo assessment with Rumble. It actually allowed me to learn these concepts because you get punished so hard if you don't. So if you're a champion, if you're a player, who really wants to learn, get better at side lane awareness, tempo assessment, etc., Rumble could be a really good champion for you to have on a second account to just all in on. Conversely, once you have these fundamentals down, you'll find that games are just so easy to win. Now, F keys are very useful on Rumble. Now, I get asked a lot about my key bindings. What I've actually found to be the best, actually, I have two buttons on my mouse. Mouse button 1, mouse button 2, that is for my top and jungle. And then my third one, because I don't have a third button here, I actually have it to T. Now, T previously was for emotes for me, but I found T, I just put T on my AD carry now, but I found it's not too far because I found F keys they're too far away from my fingers. Like, I can't move my fingers from Q, W, E, R to F1, F2, F3, F4. Like, it just feels too far. So I put it on T. So MB1, MB2, and T. Try that out if you don't like F keys. And lastly, Rumble needs to take control of calls because of how ultimate reliant you are and how effective you are in specific areas of the map. Now, Rumble, as I've alluded to in this video a lot of times already, how ultimate reliant you are. Now, if maybe you had to use your ultimate for another kill, maybe you use it for wave clear or whatever you did, and you don't have ultimate, you need to call off a play that you think might happen because you are useless in these fights without ultimate. Trust me, like, Rumble needs ultimate for threat. When you don't have ultimate, you're a shell of the champion that you potentially could be. So don't be afraid to say, guys, you know what? I use my ultimate. I don't have ultimate. I don't want to fight this. Give it up, ping back, and give them plenty of warning. Ping your ultimate cooldown and play around your ultimate. So you need to take control of calls. And also keep in mind, guys, that Rumble is a champion that really needs to fight in specific areas. He loves choke points. He loves objectives. He doesn't want to be fighting in the middle of a lane because it's so hard to place ultimate. There's so much room or so much terrain to cover. You can't possibly pincer anyone in. They can just walk off it so easily. So also try and control, guys. Come with me, come to the objective, force them to come to us. And I do that a lot in Rumble. I say, guys, let's do Baron, come to Baron, and we just turn. Wait till they're in the choke point, lay out my ultimate down, boom, we get a really nice team fight. So keep that in mind when playing Rumble, guys. Now for jungle combos, guys. Now this is an incredibly important slide for you guys to understand, especially because Rumble is such a 2v2 oriented champion. He's not a 1v1 laning champion. It's not like an Orianna. Yes, jungle combos are also important on Orianna, but Rumble more so. Rumble's effectiveness goes from here to up here if you're with a good jungler or a jungler that can complement your identity. So junglers that can utilize your early pressure to force invades, early fights, early objectives are the absolute best. Champions like Graves, Rek'Sai, Jarvan, Lee Sin, Olaf, any of these champions, they're great because Rumble loves these early skirmishes, great in 2v2s, especially post 6 has an incredible amount of threat, loves objective fights, especially since you can take heal. Your early spiking is pretty much unparalleled. These champions really complement Rumble. And the thing I love doing most is playing something like Graves. Graves doing a full clear, then on the second clear, just invading the enemy jungler with my level 6 or like level 5. We just run into them and just kill them in the jungle. Because no one can contest me and Graves 2v2. It's just so much damage. I love doing that. And keep in mind, guys, damage spread and micro interactions. So damage spread, you want to have an AD champion with an AP. So given Rumble is so AP heavy and builds a lot of magic pen, if they're forced to build armor because of a fed Graves or Rek'Sai or Jarvan, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for them because Rumble's just going to do true damage at that point. And micro interactions, what I mean by that is that Jarvan's a perfect example. Jarvan can lock them in a cage and Rumble can layer the ultimate. It's a really great way to punish flashless targets. But on the other hand, you've got champions like Gragas who actually spread the enemy out everywhere, which can actually make Rumble's ult an absolute nightmare. So you've got to keep into account those micro interactions. And the reason I actually had a purple box around this, or pink around this Jarvan was because Jarvan does everything. Jarvan can lock people down and offer the CC element of what Rumble's missing. Is an AD champion that spikes really early and can build a lot of AD as well. So damage spread wise, early strength wise, pathing wise, everything, Jarvan is great with Rumble. On the other hand, you've got champions like Elise who are 50-50. Their early aggression and have a bit of CC for Rumble, but the same damage. They can just stack MR, so it's quite annoying. And then you've got champs like Zac and Sez. They just don't complement Rumble because damage spread wise and more importantly, they're just slow. You want the game pace to go faster. You want them to solo objectives. You want to force these early 2v2 fights. These just don't complement Rumble's identity at all. So you've actually heard me talk a lot within this video so far about how important Rumble's ultimate is. I thought it'd be really good to do a whole separate slide on the equalizer because the champion feels completely different when you know how to really utilize this ability, because it's such an integral part of Rumble's identity and Rumble's kit. And if you're not good at using it, then you're going to have a really rough time with playing this champion. So a few quick tips, guys. Number one, try to layer the ult on top of CC, keeping in mind that it also slows. So I love it when I have like an Ashe or a Varus on my team. They start the fight with their ultimates, and then I layer the ultimate, and then they're just getting roasted. So I love layering my ult on top of CC. The second one is really important to understand. So think not just about where they are now, but where they will be based off terrain. So a lot of the time you can make a decent educated guess about where they will flash, or where they'll move after, just based off terrain or where your enemies are trying to pincer them. You can actually force them to walk in a certain direction, or you can anticipate where they're going to walk, so you put it in a line so where they're basically screwed and there's no counterplay. So keep in mind not just where they are now, but where they will be after maybe the CC wears off or something like that. Third, don't be a perfectionist, guys. You're not going to get amazing ults off all the time. Sometimes your role is just to snipe someone or just get some burst down. You don't try to be faker every game. You're not going to get amazing ults. Sometimes you just got to use it. It might be messy. It might look a bit ugly. You're not going to get those sexy ultimates off all the time. Don't be a perfectionist. And this is something I had to overcome slowly, because I was like, oh my god, these guys are going to flame me. Look how bad this ultimate was, but I had to get it. You know, it is what it is, man. Lastly, sometimes you need to be the engage, and I don't really like being the engage with Rumble a lot of the time. I like to wait for CC or other people to get in close to start the fight. But sometimes, again, the game's messy. You're the only form of engage. You got to get it done. It is what it is. So again, don't feel bad. Sometimes you just do have to start the fight with your equalizer. So I just want to quickly go over a few differing examples of using the equalizer, because it is such an important ability. Now, what I look for when using ultimate is I look for terrain. How can I use terrain to my advantage? So here I'm actually coming out for a gank onto this Aurelia, and she's actually trying to escape. I've got my set here trying to chase her down. Now, this is the perfect example. Terrain is Rumble's best friend. I know that if I use my ultimate this way, she has no way to escape. She's just going to get pincered against the wall. She has to either loop around here, or she has to walk straight through it, which is going to be slowed, and then Set's just going to be able to kill her. So in these situations, I'm always thinking to myself, how can I use my ultimate, and how can I use the terrain to my advantage to put her in a win-win situation for me, or put her in a lose-lose situation for her? So this is just a perfect example. How you can use your either ultimate against the wall like that, so she has to run alongside it. You can use it that way to pinch her into the wall. A lot of different ways to utilize terrain to your advantage. The next one I actually like to think about here is where they will be. So this was a fight breaking out between, I think this was my Jarvan jungle. Is it Jarvan jungle here? And I think we're versing an Eve, and Eve actually just face checked this bush. Now I'm coming in from the side here, and I'm thinking, okay, Eve's most likely after the EQ, the knock-up blast, she's probably going to ultimate this way back into the bush to escape. So what I was thinking was, okay, and not only is Zed here is actually camping in the bush as well, but I thought, okay, if I use my ultimate, not this way, but if I use it this way, because I was anticipating her to R back, knowing that that would be the quickest way for her to escape, because I don't think she knew where MF was, so she would probably be scared to walk this way. I thought, okay, most likely she's going to go upwards. So if I use my ultimate this way, she's going to be completely screwed. And I tried to do it at the exact same time she ultimate, or just as she was about to ultimate. So she really had no option. And here she actually ended up ulting back into this really nice choke point for me. And because I anticipated which direction she would R. So that's just a perfect example of anticipation and thinking where they will be, not just where they are now. Because I could put it this way, I could put it that way, I could put it that way. There's so many ways. Just again, maximizing your damage by thinking a little bit in the future, guys. Perfect example of how juicy immobile AD carries are for Rumble. Now, this is a perfect example because Varus is here. I'm actually over here walking down, chasing them off this dragon. I know this Varus here does not have flash and is an incredibly immobile AD carry. And what do we see? He's right next to this wall. So I'm like, you know what? Come to Papa. You're not going to escape me. And there's a brief fleeting moment where he's right next to the terrain. So I end up putting my ultimate here, really annoyingly, like just on the left side of Varus. So we can't walk out fully of the ultimate. So he's basically stuck. So he either has to walk through the entire ultimate, or he has to walk back, or he just dies. And here I basically 100 to 0 this Varus because I put it against the wall like that, knowing that he either had to path back towards us in which we kill him, or he walks this way, gets slowed so much we catch up to him and kill him, or he has to walk through the entire ultimate and basically dies to my ultimate anyway. So there's ways to use your ultimate to make it no counterplay. And this is one of my favorite things to do on Rumble. And notice how this is what ties into my, not hesitating point. He's only going to be in this position for a very fleeting moment. And if I don't take this opportunity, it's just missed. Again, if I'm on top of flash timers and I'm constantly thinking, who do I threaten given how immobile they are? I will capitalize on every single one of these opportunities. And this is how you make the most of Rumble Ultimate and Rumble as a champion in general. So really keep this in mind, guys. And also keep in mind, when you're reviewing your Rumble games, always look over your ultimates. So literally, I spend most of my games, I literally look at all of my ultimate usage. I think of, I could have used ultimate better here. I should have used ultimate here. What opportunity did I miss? That's how you will learn. And that's how you really improve in Rumble, because if you don't spend the time looking at your ultimates, you're only going to be playing Rumble to like 40-50% capacity. So lastly, guys, let's quickly talk about how to counter Rumble. Rumble hates fighting in open areas. So when you verse Rumble, try to stay in open areas and slow poke. So a great thing to do would maybe be, siege in mid lane, do a bit of an ARAM in the middle of the lane. Try to avoid going into rivers unless you really need to. But this is a great way. So this is why champions like Ziggs and stuff, when it gets to mid game, and Orianna can be a nightmare for Rumble in those open area sieges, because there's really not much Rumble can do. Next, Rumble needs to fight with his ultimate in mid game. So if you see Rumble use ultimate on a wave, or maybe waste it somehow, he misses his ultimate, that's when you should force fights and force objectives. Rumble, like we said, is incredibly ultimate reliant. When he doesn't have his ultimate, he's completely screwed. So try and force when Rumble doesn't have ultimate. It's a big, big window. Because Rumble needs to go into melee range for trades, if the jungler sits in the side bush, you can easily blow flash. So there's champions that need to heavy trade to take good trades. These are ones like Yasuo, Rumble, Galio to a certain extent. These champions that are very melee focused, and they need to go in aggressively. Now, a very easy way to counter Rumble is literally get your jungler to sit in the side bush, pink it, get him to sit there. As soon as Rumble walks up for an aggressive trade, bang, you can easily blow your flash. Play patient, but it's very telegraphed, because Rumble he's either CSing really far away with E and giving pressure, or he's forcing pressure with his Q and trying to roam, in which you can easily blow his flash. Rumble hates being stuck in the side lane, so he needs to force fights with his move. So he never wants to sit in the side. He just wants to push, move, push, move, push, move. So if you respect his move, force him to go to the side lane, and respect when he does have don't force a fight there, and really make it really annoying for him. Force him when he's in the side lane, force a fight when he's in the side lane, or pick him when he's in the side lane, or do something when he's in the side lane. He will be incredibly frustrated, and Rumble won't really be able to utilize his strength, which is just those straight 5v5 fights. And lastly, guys, Rumble is not good from behind. So once he is behind, he will stay behind. Okay, so Rumble is a champion that if you kill him once in the early game, blow his flash and kill him again, or whatever it is, it's so hard for Rumble to do anything, because he is a champion that needs to push the pace of the game. He needs to farm quite well, or he needs to get roams off. And if he can't do any of that, he has no CC, he has low range, he's going to be very, very squishy, he's going to have a hard time operating in that game, I guarantee you. So these are the top ways, or the top things you need to keep in mind when versing Rumble, but he's actually not a hard champion to counter if you know the champion well. So I know now, after playing a lot of Rumble, I know exactly what Rumble hates to do. So keep this in mind when versing Rumble, guys. So what we're going to do is actually dive into the VODs, guys, so stay tuned. Alright, guys, so diving into the first VOD of the day, we're going to cover Rumble versus Syndra. Now, if you refer back to my matchup tier list, you'll notice that Syndra is literally at the bottom. It's one of the hardest matchups for Rumble. And you may ask, Curtis, why are you showing us one of the hardest possible matchups? Why don't you show us an easier one? Well, I thought, if I can teach the viewers the hardest possible matchup, then surely that will mean that they can navigate any single matchup, and more importantly, we can actually round it out with a much easier VOD secondly, so you can see best of both worlds. You can see a VOD where I have to minimize, be very, very calculated, then you can see a game where it's much faster pace, a lot more roam opportunities, much easier to play out, so you can kind of see the best of both worlds. But I feel like this was a really good VOD specifically to show the fundamentals of Rumble, even if you can't solo kill your opponent. Now, because I'm versing a Syndra who basically outranges me, I can never really solo kill. I opted for Comet and Heal with D-Shield start. Conversely, again, if I'm in a lower range matchup, I'll go Ignite maybe, or even go Electrocute with Ignite with Doran's Ring or something like that. But again, majority of the time, I like Comet, I like Doran's Shield regardless, because I just feel like it's a great way to get to my 1100 gold, which ties me into the first objectives, guys, because you guys like to know about the first mini game. You guys like to win mini games or the first objective. For me, I'm always thinking, how can I get to 1100 gold? That's what I love. And the mini game I like to think about is, how can I get the most CS, back up my jungler if, I'll always back up my jungler if there's a river skirmish or something, but I will try to only base once I've got 1100 gold. I want to minimize basing and minimize having to base pre 1100 gold. So that's the way I like to personally play Rumble. Now, something to think about early game, right, guys? So if you refer back to my video where I talk about ways to play the early lanes, I'm versing a very low cooldown, early aggressive champion, which means, you know what, I'm probably not going to be able to contest level 1, 2, so I have to accept reality, let them push me in, and that's completely fine, guys. It's okay sometimes to give push, catch CS under tower in those early levels, minimize to get to your level 6, get to your 1100 gold where you can really start doing work, okay? So, a great way to minimize, start E, and because E, you can easily just CS with it, last hit, you won't be pushing too much. If you start Q on the other hand, the danger is that you actually start pushing into Syndra, and that's where things can get very sketchy because Rumble's not good at breaking a freeze because you're a very low range champion and Syndra can walk past the wave and it gets very, very messy. So I basically never want to push levels 1 and 2. I just want to chill and catch my wave under tower. So I want to minimize damage taken. One little tip you can do is stand next to the minions, force the enemy to Q you, and that's going to force it so the wave actually pushes into your tower. So that's what I actually do there and get Syndra to Q both the range creeps, which guarantees that it's going to push towards me no matter what. So right now I'm completely fine with just CSing from a distance with my E. Nothing too special going on. And this ties into one of the biggest misconceptions about Rumble. You're not always going to have push levels 1, 2, and 3. That's just not the case. Rumble is a level 6 champion. And again, a lot of these matchups where you're getting outranged, you can't be expected to get early pressure. You just got to chill. Take a chill pill. Relax. So I'm just fine because I know Syndra 100% is pushing into me, and I know she's going to get level 2 first because, again, she is auto-attacking the wave more than me, and more importantly, she actually was forced to Q the wave early, which was my early strategy to guarantee that it pushes into me. Now, you just got to respect a little bit, just CS from a distance. Now, level 2, another mistake I see is people always feel the need to go Q second. Sometimes you can go Q, but it's not always the case. If you are versing a very aggressive Syndra or a very aggressive Zoe, something like that, you can actually just go W second, and what this will do is it will allow you to stay healthy in lane, get to stay on a decent amount of HP, so when you are under tower and when the wave is crashing, you have plenty of HP to play with to make sure you're getting all of that CS. Again, the danger with getting Q second is that you might accidentally, while trying to proc your Comet and Scorch, you might accidentally push the wave back towards them, which is not what I want to do. So I'm very careful about the way I use my Q, even though I've got it here. I really want to be careful about what I do with the wave. So I'm really trying to just brush it, skim it, thin it a little bit, make sure the wave isn't insanely big. Because if the wave gets really, really big, then it's going to be hard for me to reliably CS under tower. Now, I'm completely fine letting Syndra push me in here. Again, I've taken not really too much damage in this early laning phase. I'm trying to thin the wave with my Q whenever Syndra's Q is down. But overall, I've done a pretty good job at staying healthy, which, is coherent with my 1100 gold strategy. CSing whenever I can with my E. I'm not really worrying too much about my heat gauge because heat doesn't mean too much until you're level 3 anyway. What I'm looking for and what I'm waiting for is eventually Syndra is going to have to duck out of vision to get a ward. And when Syndra does go out of vision to get a ward, that's when I can actually begin to thin the wave while there's that little brief window of being able to thin the wave. So I'm trying to actually keep my heat up with my E's here, and then I use my Q there to get into the danger zone, and then I ping exactly where Syndra warded, and I'm using this little window here to thin the wave, because the bigger this wave is, again, the harder it is for me to actually CS under tower here. Again, you can see how this mini game in the early game is all about getting the most CS you can, thinning the wave whenever you can, telling the enemy where they ward, just all these little tips for minimizing quite effectively. Now again, not too much is happening right now. I'm able to CS quite effectively under tower. Syndra's missing, but I know Syndra can't really go for any early roams, so I'm not really too fussed in anything happening. I actually overheat there by accident, but it's not a big deal because the wave isn't even crashing. I see Ivan there. I check his level and I check his CS. He's actually a level ahead of my Graves. He's actually got 1 or 2 more camps than my Graves as well, so I know we can't fight 2v2. And I'm completely fine with that. Even if Graves was strong, I don't think we could fight 2v2 because Syndra is just so much stronger than me right now. Again, I'm on track for farming. I haven't had to use any pots. I'm full HP, and I'm halfway to, basically over halfway to my Sorks. Now, I know Ivan's top side. And I know my bot lane's actually just traded. I don't know if they traded 1 for 1 or my top lane's actually died or my bot lane actually just got a kill there. But I know what I'm looking for is Rumble. Is I'm constantly looking for information about which side's winning, which side is losing. Because of the way the draft pans out in solo queue and the way MMR works and things like that, generally you'll find one side does well and one side does poorly, because one side generally is going to get counterpicked in lane, one side is going to get counterpicked. So my job as Rumble is to identify, okay, when I do get those fleeting moments of roam opportunities, which side am I going to play towards? So that's what I'm already thinking. So when I see my AD carry kill the enemy AD carry, I'm thinking, okay, that's one tick towards potentially roaming bot lane. Now, I actually ward here because I knew Rumble was topside. Ivan was topside. And I was worried that Syndra could potentially move up with Ivan and look for a dive onto this Camille or do something in topside jungle. So I wanted to make sure I knew what Syndra was doing. I wouldn't usually recommend this sort of ward as Rumble, but again, it's all about just defensive warding in general. Over here on the ramp would have been a lot better. And Graves is actually pinging out here that Ivan's ganking top. So I thought that Ivan was actually going to gank top or something right now because I think they were heavy trading top. And then I see Ivan here, so I run to the side to avoid the orb and actually get out of this trade without taking too much damage. Not too bad, minimizing quite well. Using my scrap shield, trying to keep in the danger zone to maximize my Q damage. Again, minimize in these really tough matchups. Rumble is a decent champion at minimizing purely because you have the scrap shield for MS to both avoid damage, to dodge skill shots, and soak damage. So the beautiful thing about scrap shield, I actually think it's one of the best abilities in the entire game because it costs no mana, it gives you movement speed, and it gives you a shield. How many that's so OP. You can minimize so well with Rumble. Like, I can't say enough about it. I'll probably over exaggerate for you guys think I'm over exaggerating, but it's so strong. Like, when you're versing champions like the Syndra, I feel like when I've played Syndra into Rumble, it can feel really hard to actually punish Rumble if Rumble uses Scrap Shield really well. So you got to be smart with how you use Scrap Shield. You can't just spam it randomly. Try and use it to get into range and dodge abilities and actually minimize taking damage. Don't just use it to build up heat. Actually try and use it to be a little bit more calculated. Now, one thing I want you guys to think about. In any of these matchups where you're playing Rumble versus any mage, what is one of the big advantages? One of the big advantages is that you don't have mana and they do. Now, this is something to keep into account, and actually why I like playing for 1100 gold is because a lot of the time I actually find that if I can minimize and soak a lot of damage with my Doran shield and my scrap shield, I know that they're going to use a lot of mana and go Now, as Syndra, it's a little harder because her mana costs are so low, and because she's not really spamming E or W, she's actually being really smart and just using only Qs. She's not really using too much mana, but you'll find when you get to eventually, usually in most matchups when you're versing Orianna and stuff, you're going to be able to push them in a lot. They will use so much mana trying to thin the wave or trying to poke you, where they're just going to go and then you get full control over the wave. So it is an important thing to notice in lane is their mana pool, because it can give you a lot of control over the lane, because no one can contest Rumble sustain in lane. It's like insane. So I'm minimizing very well. Trying to get my my heat up with my Q. Again, I'm trying to maximize the usage of my scrap shield because I don't want to I want to use it to actually avoid damage. So this 2v2 comes. I knew Bard was coming. I really didn't want this. So I was trying to force this Syndra to back off. Then they ended up turning onto me. Ended up getting clipped by the stun. End up having to blow my heal. I didn't probably need to do it, but I ended up just turning this fight. So I want to quickly talk about this. In this moment, I don't know why I used heal. I think I used heal. I panicked because I mean, I'm always under the assumption that Syndra has Ignite. So I think I forgot that she didn't have Ignite. And I forgot that, you know, Ivan does basically no damage. So I think I overestimated here. But one thing I want you to think about here, the Rumble is great at turning fights. So after they use their abilities, we just turn on them with my AoE. And this is one massive strength of Rumble, even though Syndra has this strength as well, is that I can fight in the middle of the minions so effectively because I'm just raw AoE. Syndra as well doesn't have to worry about that because her Q is just AoE in that sense as well. But there's a lot of champions that are skill shot reliant. Like if Ezreal or something was in this situation, they can't do anything because they're in the middle of minions. But Rumble, one of Rumble's strengths, you can literally just Q and it literally can just roast them no matter what. So we end up turning the fight, blowing Ivan's flash there, which was quite nice. Now, this is where people panic. What do we know about Rumble? Well, we know that because I've got D shield there, I actually have a lot of sustain in lane. And I know that this Syndra's used a lot of mana, so I'm completely fine. I know that I will out-sustain this Syndra as long as I play slow. So look what actually happens from this point on. This will happen a lot in your games. You take a heavy trade with the opponent. Yes, they use their pots, but you have D shield and you're one pot. You can poke them like that with your comment. I actually want to break down this trade. And you'll actually out-sustain. And this will allow you to get your 1100 gold without having to worry about a thing. Now, one little thing here. Look at my heat. It's on 40. So this is actually a great amount. So I'm free to use basically all my abilities without having to, I know that I won't overheat because 20, which is 40, which will give me to 80. And I can even use one electric harpoon if need be. It will get me to 90. I know I won't overheat. So this is a really good number to go into to start a fight. So you start with your W and Q, you go into overheat mode, you get a nice little harpoon as well. It's very, very nice. Something to keep in mind. So I noticed this. I know that she's quite as well. Got my comet up. I walk my scrap shield W and Q, E, and get a really nice trade on. Now this is what will start to happen over the course of these laning phases. You'll notice that they'll start to use pots slowly because a lot of matchups you'll be, you know, proccing your comet, walking out with Q like this and turning back around. And you'll slowly start to wither them down. And again, because you have no mana, you can just continually do this. And the only big tip here, guys, is use S keys if need be. But more importantly, keep in mind your comet cooldown because you want to be using comet cooldown as much as you can. And keep in mind the heat gauge. So I know I'll get 1100 gold off this wave. I know that Syndra's very I know she has TP, so I should be push for a tempo reset here. So I know I can just base now. Now, my top lane's kind of inting, so my top lane's 1 and 2, not too bad, but my bot lane is winning. So I know that I have a strong side of the map. I know my bot lane is winning. So I'm already thinking that is the side I want to play towards. So in terms of the early game, not too much has happened. Syndra's got a reset. I'm not really going to be able to deny much CS. I'm only up 5 CS. I've got my 1100 gold. And more importantly, I've been able to also buy a pink. Pink wards are incredibly essential on Rumble, guys. I'm not going to go on it too much about it, but it really opens up Rumble's identity because, again, Rumble's a 2v2 champion. He's a river skirmish champion. He wants objectives. He wants to create fights. If you have no vision control and you're not denying any vision, then you're basically going to be stuck in an isolated 1v1. And you're not going to have those roam opportunities because when you have a pink down, you know that they don't know where you are. And that's what's going to generate your threat. So I come back to lane and I'm already thinking, well, what a pretty good early game. I've got out of one of the hardest parts of this lane. I'm nearly at my 6. Got my Sorks. I have 1 losing side, 1 winning side. There's a pretty stock standard matchup. Game, sorry. And I know that the 80 carry has no flash and their support has no flash. So I literally time it and putting the timers in chat. So that's the lane I want to go in. And remember, guys, how important flashes are. I think I actually forgot to time jungle flash. But I know that bot lane doesn't have flash at the moment, so I really want to look to punish that as soon as I hit 6. So go for a nice trade here, knowing my support's there, but I'm not really able to land. We're not able to land a Q, but it's not too bad. The minion stands in front of my cannon. I get a nice little trade again. I just want to break down these trades here, guys. and what you should do on Rumble in general, whenever you see the enemy use an ability, whether it's on someone else, whether it's on the wave, or even on you, you need to use that as a go signal for you to trade. A big mistake I see with any person playing mid, or especially melee laners, is they always find, I don't know when to go in. I don't know how to find good trades. This is your window. Syndra just use QE. Even if it's an Orianna or a Victor using E on the wave, whatever, that's your trade opportunity. So I see that. I know that Syndra's cooldowns are down. Look at this. What do? I get my heat up. Bang, W, Q, E, bang. I get a really nice trade. Yes, I overheat because I didn't manage my heat too well, but I get a really nice trade because I knew Syndra didn't have any abilities up. Pretty stock standard stuff, but you'd be surprised how many people do not utilize those cooldown windows. So now I'm thinking, beautiful. I'm going to out-sustain this Syndra. She doesn't have blue buff yet. She only has one pot. My bot lane's winning. We have full river control, so I want to put my pink down on bot side river. I could have put it there or on bot dot, but I thought that Graves was going to pink at some point bot dot. But, I think that was just maybe a bit of a lazy ward from me. But I know one side of the map's going to be strong, one's got to be weak. What does this mean for me? We should be starting dragons. And this is something I urge you guys to do. When you have one winning side, either stack dragons or stack Rift Heralds. If it's your top winning, do Rift Herald at 8 minutes. If it's your bot winning, do dragon on spawn. Get your jungler to do objectives, because even if they come, you fight, you win. And if they don't come, they trade sides of the map. You trade sides of the map. You're going to have such a big advantage by stacking dragons. Okay, really important. So I know that I want to do something on bot side. I've got my pinks down. I see Ivan top. They're killing my top laner again. And yeah, so top's not looking good right now. So I'm taking some decent trades. So again, look, this is a nice little shimmy here with the movement speed. Look at that. So I dodge that, get the movement speed, get in range, and then just use my S key. I believe I use S key here. So what do? So I use W. Yeah, look at that, S key. I love that. So get the movement speed. I dodge the Q. Use the movement speed from the W to get in range. Then I use the Q, and then I use S key to stop because I don't want to over chase. And then I kind of back up. And then I know that bot has no flashes, so I really want to find a way to impact bot. So I'm thinking, okay, let me get one more wave. Syndra is very, very She has no mana. She's trying to contest me. And this is the beautiful thing about Rumble, guys. Post first base, before the enemy gets blue buff, there'll be this window, exactly what's happening now, where you're going to be so tanky between your W and your movement speed, being able to dodge skill shots. They'll get so frustrated because either you're spending all your resource, or I'm spending all my flame spitter on the wave, pushing them in, and they're going to use mana on the wave, or they're going to try hit skill shots at me, which I can just weave in and out of the, dodge a bunch of skill shots. They're going to go That's going to create roam opportunities. If I play too defensive all the way back here, and I don't push my limits, I don't utilize my movement speed, and I don't utilize my walking up with my W, Q, S, and then back up to proc my Comet and my Scorch, I'm not going to be utilizing the strength of my champion. And one thing to think about, guys, there's a lot of champions that rely on skill shots. If you're versing a champion that relies on skill shots, just stand behind the minions and walk up. Like, it's so free. So now, because I've played like this, I haven't played like a bitch. I've pushed my limits, and Syndra's used all their pots. She's got no mana. This is what's going to allow me to create a roam opportunity. So I get the wave in. I'm leaning to one side. This is generally what you want to be doing on Rumble, is leaning to one side where your vision is on your strong side. Actually, let's quickly break down this trade. Walk up, try to walk past you. That's actually what my intention was here. A lot of players, what they actually try to do is Syndra will try to queue a little bit behind you, so you walk into it. So sometimes what you can actually do is walk straight forward. W forward, walk past it. But she was really spot on with it. I get the Scorch proc and the Comet proc, and then I just get the minions, and I duck off to my strong side. I know they have no flashes. Even if they weren't diving, I was going to dive anyway. I know I have 6. I know I got the wave in. I know it's going to be hard for Syndra to get the wave in. My top's dying anyway, so I might as well trade sides of the map. I wanted to see where Xayah was, and then she ends up sitting here. Now, I thought that Xayah was just going to continue to walk here, talking about terrain, guys. This Xayah was a little smart. She probably knew she was going to get pincered by me, so she walks out from the terrain, but we still kill her anyway. Beautiful. Get a nice little kill. Get my bot lane nice and juicy. I don't care if my top lane's losing. It's going to happen anyway. One winning side, one losing side. Just the way it is what it is. Syndra's really struggling to get the wave out because she was so Fine with me. I'm working towards my haunting, guys. Brilliant. Refillable, pink ward, amp 2, tops inting again, 1 and 4. Brilliant. Now, I want to, again, stack dragons. I want to keep finding a way to influence this bot lane. Okay? And I even told I literally say to my jungler, stack drags. That's what I say. So I come back. I got a bit, I think I have a bit of tempo on Syndra, actually. I got a bit of tempo, which is nice. Tempo assessment. Get some vision down. Some nice, juicy vision control on one side. And what side? My strong side. Because I want to see where Ivan is. I want to be able to lean heavy to one side. When you can ward these raptors, guys, it's going to allow you to heavy lean to one side and allow me to play a lot more aggressive in the lane. But this portion is where it gets a bit tricky. Once your enemy laner gets lost chapter, can be a little bit tricky, then Bard ends up getting caught out. This is the beauty of it, guys. The enemy support's going to be so stuck. They're never going to be able to walk into river because I'm pushing and moving and always leaning into river. Either they give us complete river control, I can completely push and move and dive, or they try to contest vision, he gets caught out, and then we can get a free kill. And here, Thresh flays him, and I get really confused. So I actually forget to stack up my heat, because I was like, my brain boomed, but kill him anyway, but it was just weird interaction. I hadn't seen that in a while. So, beautiful, get a kill there, another kill on the Bard. I see Ivan on bot side, Zaya's pushing out bot, but again, I don't want to continue to play top side, although it would be nice to play for Rift Herald. I just know that Aatrox is too strong. So now this is where Syndra has blue and she has lost chapter. This is where she can start to do a lot of damage. So she ends up ulting me. What I actually do here, I actually pan my eyes onto the minimap to see if there's a fruit. So what Doinby does when he plays Rumble, he takes a trade like this, or the enemy gets frustrated, they use all their abilities, he'll walk into river and look for a fruit. Unfortunately, there were no fruits at this point in time, because you can actually see a little green dot somewhere in the river to see if there's a fruit, but there was no fruit, unfortunately. So I'm like, alright, I'm going to use my refillables and just go back to lane. So now I have Doran's Shield. Doran's Shield just will give me a really nice bit of sustain, mixed with that refillable. I am completely okay with just chilling for a while. So bot kills again, because, we've just hard played to one side, and Ivan feels lost. So what you'll find is that the enemy jungler, they will want to compensate and help bot lane, but they know they can't. And Ivan, what the enemy jungler will do is they'll be like, all right, you won bot side, I'm just going to win top side. This is a very common occurrence, because if the enemy jungler comes bot side, they know they're just going to lose 4v4 on the bot side of the map. That's generally what's going to happen. So they have to just trade it off. So Ivan's going top side. I'm trying to minimize. Notice how much I'm healing already from my Doran shield as well. It's quite nice. And now I'm just getting poked under tower. Now this is where things get a bit tricky, and this is where my concept of losing gracefully comes into play. Sorry, my bot lane has got no mana, and they're resetting. They got gold to spend. My jungler has a lot of gold to spend. Was pinging that he has 1500 gold. Is going back to base. Right now, I have no river control anymore because they've walked into river. They cleared the pinks. Their support's on the map roaming. Their jungler is out of vision. I don't know. Syndra has blue buff, is poking me under tower. My bot lane's basing. My jungler's in base. This is where my job is to minimize. I don't need to do anything. Okay, I need to just not die. I need to stay healthy. I don't need to force anything. All my job is to not die to a gank. So I just want to chill. If I don't know where they are at all, I'll just sit under tower. But right now, I just want to CS with E and chill. And people get frustrated. How is this Syndra allowed to play like this? Whatever. Dude, it's reality. My jungler's in base. They've got control of the river. I got to wait for my team to come back on the map until we can actually do something. So I'm trying to pick up as much CS as I can. Always noticing that I'm in the danger zone as well. I'm always trying to stay in the danger zone. So they come. Okay, this is a perfect example of starting a fight with my R. I know that I'm very, very low, that I can't get into range with Syndra. So what I end up doing, because I know even if I blow flash, and like we know in the previous part of my video, guys, how important and how beautiful blowing flash is for Rumble. If I can blow this guy's flash, he's doomed. Because I know we're going to have so much threat on the Syndra as soon as she doesn't have flash. So sometimes you're just going to use ultimate to set up a gank. If I put it here, I know she's going to walk down towards her tower. And again, she'd be stuck towards the train. And if I put it on that side, she's going to be forced to walk into the river towards my Thresh. Or she has to flash immediately to safety. Either way, it's good for me. She either dies to Thresh, Or she blows flash, in which we can kill her in the next team fight anyway, because she's an immobile mage. So I start the fight with my R, knowing it's a slow, put it on the bottom hand side, so she doesn't want to walk into the thresh, and then she ends up blowing flash. Massive win, guys. And because my ultimate is on a minute 30 cooldown, whereas flash is 5-minute cooldown, it's just, there's such a big window to utilize that. So we time that, 15:30 mid flash. I literally type it, 15:30 mid. And guys, if you don't know how to do timers, type it in, Control A, Control C, and then Control V. 15:30 mid, 15:30 mid, 15:30 mid, bang, 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 bang. Now, top laner dies again, pretty self-explanatory. I don't expect anything more, because we've traded him off. He has to play weak side. And that's what I talk about losing gracefully. He's not losing gracefully. Not really much I can do about it. But, what did I just do there? I started pinging dragon. Dragon in a minute. My ultimate's in a minute. I want to stack dragons. That's our win condition. We've traded sides of the map. We've got a strong bot lane. Leave top side. Let's stack dragons. For 2 reasons. That's where our pressure is. That's where our vision control is going to be, and that's where our strong side is. But I'm Rumble. I love dragon fights. That's what I want to do. So Aatrox gets top tower. I know Syndra's going to reset. I got a bit of tempo. Put my pink back on bot side. Put a bit of vision here. I don't know if that's the best ward. Maybe I should actually be warding Dot. I think that's just a lazy ward for me. I don't know why I'm gravitating so much towards that side brush. Anyway, get the wave in, and what do I do in between the waves? I always lean out of vision, because this is how you generate threats. So I lean out of vision. If they respect, then it's fine. I relieve a bit of pressure. If they don't respect, then I kill them. Either way, it's a win-win. So the Xayah and the Bard respect. I either get pinged off or I walked over a ward. It's not a big deal. So I'm waiting for a fight. If a fight breaks out, I'm going to go. That's all I'm looking for, because I have my ultimate in 5 seconds. Okay, the TP fights. Look at this. TP goes, I just go. No hesitation. If I miss six creeps, it's fine. I don't care. A fight is what Rumble wants to do. These skirmishes. Fight breaks out. I'm trying to look who's blows flash. Who's got flash. I know mid doesn't have flash, but he's not here yet. This Aatrox is pumping everyone. And notice I really hesitated to use my ultimate, because it's such low value to use ultimate in such a wide space, when this person probably... I'm not going to be able to, I don't think it's going to be the difference between saving them. So what I was actually hoping was get in range and then heal and then just kill him without having to use my ultimate. But then he starts chomping everyone. So I'm like, all right, screw it. I just got to use my ultimate to get the kill. So I get in range. I use my heal. And we blow his flash as well. We get that kill. And then I see Xayah. Notice how I know Xayah either walks over here and dies to these guys, or walks into me. So I'm already just walking this way to cut her off, just in case she just dips. So she begins to dip. I walk up. I'm in the heat zone. Get a nice little E there. Boom. Auto attack dead. Again, so that's a no hesitation play, guys. When you play Rumble, that's exactly the mindset you got to have. If a fight breaks out, if you have to miss CS, so be it. Okay, you have your ultimate. I have my flash. It's a river. It's a skirmish. Exactly what Rumble wants. Okay. So. And one thing I quickly want to talk about before we move on to the next play is on the way down, all I'm thinking about, I'm looking for, is flashes. If I see people flash, I'm thinking, oh, cool, my ultimate's going to be more value. Oh, does that guy have ult? Does that guy have self-peel? Like, what's going on here? I'm always thinking about mobility and flashes. That's all I'm thinking about. Because that's why I was so hesitant as well to use the ult on Aatrox, because he hadn't used flash the whole time. I knew he had flash. And he didn't flash straight away for some reason. He actually just wasted it and flashed into my ultimate at the end. So it is something to think about when you're heading to these skirmishes, because that will determine how you want to use your ultimate. So I will get the next dragon. Beautiful, because we're stacking dragons. This is generally how I win games on Rumble, is by stacking dragons. And I ping that I need a little bit more gold for Liandry, so I end up getting this gold. A little weird skirmish breaks out, but nothing really happens. Just jungle, and I time jungle, flash, and then get back on the map, get my Liandry. So I even type mid, free kill mid. I'm literally typing free kill mid. I'm timing mid flash, because he has no flash for 2 minutes. I time the jungle flash. My ultimate's up in 5 seconds. Free kill mid, and I talk lane assignments, because I don't want to go in the side lane. Like I said, Rumble's not good in the side lane. A lot of the time, I want to stay mid. Either is fine here. I could go top and just catch the wave and move down, or I could stay mid and let them push out top and threaten this tower and I move up in river. Either are completely fine. For some reason this game, I just wanted to stay mid because like I was very comfortable versing Syndra in this lane right now, because I just hit my Liandry's. And I thought we would just get more pressure on the map. with Lucian in the side lane, because Lucian in the side lane is so nuts. And I thought that Lucian versus Syndra mid is kind of meh because Syndra outranges so hard. So I just minimize. Again, this is a perfect example. I'm alone mid. My team's not in the area. I need to minimize. But I really want to defend mid tower. Something I want you guys to think about as one of your games. Mid tower is generally the key determiner to how long games will play out. The longer this tower stays up, the longer the game will get dragged out. So I know as Rumble, I want this game to, like, I don't want them to get this tower because it's going to be hard for us to, like, if they end up getting ahead for some reason, it's going to be hard for us to minimize. So my key instinct is always keep mid tower alive. It's so important for control and just the pace of the game. So sometimes if they're sieging and they're in a big wave and they've got a big wave, you can actually defend it with your ultimate. It's actually worth it. It is something to think about, guys. So, they end up trying to dive me and 4-man me. I end up flashing out because I know that my life is very valuable. And I saw them trying to go for this tower because I had 2 minions. So I thought if I ulti the wave, I'll actually be able to defend it and scare them off. And I end up scaring them off from getting the mid tower, which is really big for the state of the game. I used both of my refillables. Unfortunately, I didn't get much value from my ultimate because I really wanted to kill Syndra with my ultimate because she had no flash. But, you know, I couldn't really do that. Fast forwarding a little bit here. Just moving my vision into top side because I know that's where my strong side's going to be. My Lucian and my Thresh are pushing out top, and we want to control top river. So my job's to minimize mid. No one wants to go to the side lane to versus Lucian, so I'm just happy to minimize mid like this. Mid. Nothing too special. Now, Graves and me, we're always hovering out of vision in top river in between waves because that's where we think the most, you know, our strong side is. That's where the plays are going to happen. I want to continually keep pushing in mid, using my F keys just to pan, see the information, see what the hell's going on. Where's my Graves? What are they doing? They're getting more kills. I push in mid, and I'm just leaning in between the waves just in case a fight breaks out, but it looks like they're doing quite fine. Now, this game's just a matter of pushing the lead and ending this game. So let's talk about this because a lot of players struggle. Like when they play Galio or Pantheon champions like this, they don't know how to transition that lead. And you've noticed so far is that I haven't been compensating when it's not my turn. A big mistake when people like don't close leads is because they feel like they have to go. There's been so many times in this game where I've just had to respect, chill, relax, let them do something for a second when my team's resetting. So I ping Rift Herald again because Rift Herald, I want to be stacking objectives. It's on the objective, my strong side, the objective next to my strong side. I know I've got ultimates. I know that the jungler has no flash. I know we're just stronger and we want to push the pace of the game. Always calling objectives. I like to do on Galio, Pantheon, Rumble, all these champions. Call objectives because it's best. Again, I wait for the flash for Syndra. We blow another flash. Huge. So I was actually confident for some reason in Thresh hitting that hook. That's why I didn't use my ultimate. And I thought there might be a Rift Herald fight, so I didn't want to use my ultimate on Syndra either. So I stick around for a little bit, get a little bit more priority just to make sure my team's quite safe. Get one more mid wave, and now I'm pinging Dragon because that's the next objective. So I even tell my team, drag, cover mid, Camille. I told Camille to cover mid. I said reset. Getting towards my Morellonomicon. Beautiful. I've got my ultimate here. Syndra has no flash. All I'm thinking about now, Dragon's coming up very, very soon. We time mid-flash. Beautiful. 30 seconds. I want to be in the area as the dragon spawns. And all I'm thinking, Syndra no flash. How can I abuse that with my ultimate? So all I'm looking for now is, as soon as Syndra is out of position, I'm going to throw my ultimate down. I see them walk into this bush, waiting for my team to get into position. This is a perfect example of where I need to be the engage. Bang, ultimate, half HP, basically Syndra and Bard. Slow them all down, and we end up getting some nice juicy kills here and some nice picks, blowing a bunch of flashes. So we don't get a kill, but we kind of force them off, and we basically guarantee the dragon. So I think I probably could have placed my ulti a little better. I didn't use it straight away now because my team wasn't in range. I wanted to wait a little bit. Maybe I could have used it like there. Maybe I could have used it there, but I didn't want him to walk through this gap. What did I do? I did there. Maybe I should have put it more out that way. A little bit more out that way, and then they would have had to walk around it more. Because I see there's a little overlap here between this rock. There's like a line there, and then it's too much overlap. It needs to be further out a little bit. And this is something I would look at in review. How could I utilize my ult better, and why did I do that? But unfortunately, they get out. But we Rift Herald mid. I believe we just blow a few flashes. But again, we just guarantee the dragon anyway. So we chunk them out. We punish them, and we get the dragon. And again, this is the strength of getting those early dragons as well. It's like, it's just a win condition in itself. It's 18 minutes, and we've already got 3 dragons. You know, it's just, that's just the way to win League of Legends at the moment. I mean, it's not one way, there's many ways, but I just find it a really solid way to use your pressure. And this is why I love the Doinby style of playing mid lane. There's like high pressure, high skirmish mid laners. I just love it. Anyway, we're just kind of taking over the game. I time mid flash, jungle flash. I go out of base to top lane straight away, knowing that Lucian's better mid because they get a lot more priority. I want to catch the wave, and notice how I don't stay in the side lane. I push the wave and I hover. I push and I hover. I push and I hover. Because Lucian's not in mid lane, I'm happy to cover mid lane for one wave while they do jungle camps or get blue buff or whatever they need to do. But my intention is to never sit in the side lane. I want to push and I want to hover. Now, I want to play for Baron. I time flashes again. I go back to the side lane. I want to catch a wave like I do here and then roam. Push and come back. Push and come back. Not really trying to do anything. I see a fight break out, so I end up leaving a lot more early. They end up getting another pick here. Okay, yeah, so they end up making a pick. I don't like what they did here. I want to talk about this actually. What I should have been doing is putting assist me pings in here. There's no reason to play through here. If Baron's up, it's way more valuable for us to get this tower, which will allow us to get a lot more control down here to allow us to guarantee this Baron. We could actually also start Baron and just turn with my ultimate force the fight. But I didn't ping assist me at all. And notice how I actually swapped to sweeper to generate threat. I'm actually sweeping through here to see if there's any wards, but they actually had no wards. What I should have been doing is pinging assist me. For some reason, they went into bot side. I don't know why. Can't really tell you. But I think Thresh was looking for a pick or something. I don't know. But this is me. I actually put this down to me not taking control. I should have actually pinged assist me on top side jungle. So anyway, this fight breaks out. I know that this jungle has no flash. He gets the thing. Okay, this is exactly what I talk about in terms of chaining CC. I don't really want... This areas are really bad for Rumble because it's so much area. I don't know where they're going to walk. Like, it's really hard for me. So ideally, I want to wait for hard CC, then to lay out my ultimate. Thresh lands the hook, and then look what I do. Then I land the ultimate. I'm trying to land it onto 2 people as well, onto his escape route. So I put it down like that. I end up overshooting it. I end up killing Syndra on the back side of that, but that wasn't really my intention. But yeah, I'm gonna get chain CC'd 1,000 times and end up resetting, I believe. Actually, no, we end up getting another kill here. What happens here? Oh, okay, Camille flanks. Get another kill. Okay. Then what I want to talk about lastly in this VOD is what happens. I come out of base. I get my Morellonomicon. Dragon's coming up in a minute. Because we've stacked Dragon, it's 2 minutes, 22 minutes. Dragon's coming up basically very, very soon. We know that this is a win condition in itself. And the beautiful thing about this, when you stack Dragons, is that it forces them to come to you. It's like, okay, you're going to give 4th Drag, and we just outscale you and win the game through Elder Drag. Or you are scared and you don't want us to get Dragon Soul, sorry. And you're forced to fight, which is going to be playing straight into my hands. Straight into my cards, whatever it is, the saying is. So they end up trying to make a counter play onto this Camille. I thought they were going to chase into this corridor, but they just end up walking out and just ditching the Aatrox completely. So we end up taking that kill, walking back over to the dragon. I'm trying to defend the Graves from getting this dragon. So I'm trying to buy time for Graves to solo this dragon, but he ends up... we end up slow, just getting it here. Nothing too special going on here. Nothing that too important. But what I actually say in chat is I ping Baron and I ping my ultimate and I say force and turn. Because I know if we do Baron and they come into us, it's easy for us to turn and fight. We have Camille, we have my Rumble ult. This is exactly where I want to fight. I want to fight on those choke points. I want to get out of the lanes. It's been so awkward for me. So what I do is I just start it. I see the TP. We see the TP top and we end up turning on the TP. He ends up coming back round. This is getting a little sloppy because everyone's split up. Then I'm waiting for this. Look at this. Choke point. Beautiful. Look what I do. He gets hooked. Lay it on the CC. Lay the carpet down the choke point. So if Syndra has to flash back in to the ultimate, or the team can't actually back up this Syndra. So either way, it's a really good ultimate. And then we end up zoning their team from us and end up bursting down the Aatrox as well, which is great for us. Team ends up doing Baron. I end up helping Camille clean up the team on the back end here. Boom. Oh yeah. And then we end up chasing and killing them as well. And then end up getting Baron. How do we end this game? We just run it down. 4-1. Okay, then we end up getting a nice little ultimate here as well. So, pretty self-explanatory game. I thought this was a really great game specifically to show how to minimize a tough matchup and look for those opportunities. Now, what I want to do is actually cover a second VOD where the dynamics are a lot more different and what happens when you have a lot more opportunities and how many things you can actually do with Rumble. Alright, for the second VOD here, guys, this one's Rumble versus Kale. Now, I actually have a Rek'Sai jungle, and I was just seeing, I think it was Pabu playing Kled jungle and versus this Kale one trick. Now, I knew that there was a lot of kill threat on top because it was a very heavy trading matchup, which is Sylas versus Maokai. I knew that we had a very aggressive jungle matchup, which was great for me because we could do a lot of things together. But I also knew that bot matchup was actually quite heavy trading as well because it's Set versus Thresh, so both melee-ish champions that want to hook and go in, and MF, who always generally wins trades as long as they're isolated 2v2. So I was keeping an open mind, but I knew this was going to be a fast-paced game. So I don't want to go into the details. All I want to show is the specifics. I still start E in this lane because I didn't want to push too fast. I like to stack a wave and build a wave. Then I get level 2 and I end up starting to walk past a minion wave like this. And so notice how different this is already compared to my last game. Level 2 first. I'm the one pushing in. And what this is going to do, in the way my whole mindset in this sort of matchup is, I want to keep push as long as possible, knowing that we win every single 2v2. And I want my Rek'Sai to either invade or take double scuttle. So when I'm in a matchup like this, whether it's versus like any heavy scaling matchup, all I'm thinking is, if I can push them in, is if I just consistently get push, the enemy jungler is not going to be able to do anything because I'm always going to get to the fight first. If a skirmish breaks out, I'm always going to get there first. If a river skirmish breaks out, I'm going to get there first and we're going to win it. And there's nothing they can do. So Kled walks into river like this. I hover straight away. I end up backing Kled up. Kled can't even take the fight even if he wanted to because I'm right here. And ends up having to give the kill over to Rek'Sai. And this is exactly the way I like to play Rumble and why I think it's actually incredibly strong when paired with an aggressive jungler against these defensive laners. So again, I come back to lane, I'm trying to keep my heat up, but all I'm trying to do is proc my Comet like that whenever I can in my Scorch, keep shove, allow my jungler to get double scuttle, and impose absolute chaos onto the game. And I'm only going to watch the first 11-12 minutes of this lane, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I can just walk past the lane, walk past the minion wave exactly like this, as long as I'm staying in the danger zone, hovering towards my jungler's side. Because I know, Kled could only be on bot side since he didn't show on there, and he knew he did a top clear, so he knew he had to be on bot side to trade scuttles. Top playing really well. I'm pinging bot side, knowing that that's where Kled is going to be. Get some really nice trades there with my Comet and my Danger Zone Q. But again, pretty self-explanatory. So fasting forward, I'm always getting push, making the jungler's life an absolute living hell. And whenever a fight breaks out, I'm going to get there first. Now, I'm only doing this because I know they have no kill threat on me. And I know that their enemy's very scared of Rek'Sai since Rek'Sai is very strong at the moment, given that he already has 2 kills. So I know I'm going to base very soon because I'm going to be on 1100 gold. So I'm just taking very nice trades. I can play for a tempo base extremely soon as well. Now what happens is because I've got all this push, and this is what the great benefit of this as well, if you're doing it in very calculated and got plenty of vision, I see the jungler trying to gank me. I know that my jungler's in the area. We win 2v2. KO has no mana. If they try to gank me, we can easily turn the 2v2. So I try to bait the Kled in, dodge the hook or whatever it is, and end up burning Kled's flash and Kale's flash as well. Beautiful, pretty self-explanatory. I get a nice little tempo reset any second. I know bot's taking very nice trades. I got a lot of gold here. get my Sorks, a pink, and a ruby crystal. Now, all I'm trying to do, and like I said in the previous VOD, as soon as I get Sorks in level 6, my whole game's opened. I'm going to look for side lane rooms, I'm going to look for pushing rooms, I'm going to look for deep vision, I want to put my pink on the side, which is winning. I want to do something to increase the pace of the game. So as soon as I see this happen, the Kled trying to gank this Sylas, I'm like, alright, I'm coming, straight away, no hesitation. I go, Sylas survives. I know Sylas survives for a very long time. I know I'm quite fast because I got tier 2 boots with my scrap shield as well. They're right next to the wall on the terrain. Beautiful. Get a really nice lay the carpet down. Beautiful. I heal Sylas just in case, and I get a nice little kill there, and we get a double kill. Beautiful. What's my next move? I come back to mid, get a nice little deep pink in front of the red. And again, I can still take aggressive trades if I want to. But again, I see my bot lane taking aggressive trades. I walk down. I tried to kill this Thresh, but he ends up walking away. You can kind of see my whole mindset here is push and move, push and move, push and move. Impact the map, deep vision, name of the game. Now what happens? I'm pushing and pushing. Got plenty of vision, so I'm not scared at all. And I know that this KO can't contest me because I can just do this. I can just Q the wave super, super fast. If he wants to trade, I'll use my scrap shield and run away. Like, there's really no counterplay. Then I see bot taking very good trades. I'm on my way. And what happens? The enemy jungler's trying to gank. And when people are heavy trading, I'm always going to lean. And what happens here is that Pabu ends up trying to kill this set. I end up going on the Thresh because I know there's Lantern. I wait and hold my ultimate till after. Then I lay the carpet. Get a nice kill there. Beautiful. Overheat. Beautiful kill. Just in terms of one thing I want to talk about a little bit here. Notice how the whole time in the river, I'm using my W to, not only with the movement speed, but I'm thinking about the heat. I'm actually not using my Q in the river because that would actually get me to 80 heat, which is too much. I want to be heading into a fight around 40 to 50 heat. That's like the perfect amount. And notice here how I wasn't using my E's on the Thresh. I was waiting to hold my E's for the Kled. And getting a nice kill there. Beautiful. Double kill. Get a nice little plate, come back, get my Leandries and a blasting wand. And what's the first thing I do? Because they've been timing AD carry flash. I push in mid again. As soon as I see the enemy jungle top side, I know that I can go the enemy side, the opposite side of the map. So I shove in one more wave. Knowing my ultimate's on 10-second cooldown. Shove, shove, shove. Roam again. And this is why Rumble with a winning side is absolutely broken. If you have a clear winning side, there's no other mid lane champion in the game that can do this. And I go, beautiful, lay the carpet down. I probably could have laid a lot better there, but we end up killing him as well. And now my bot lane gets bot tower. They're incredibly fed, 13 kills to 4. And, it should be a pretty free win. So, because I know that I didn't really need to cover the micro specifically in this VOD, because the micro is the exact same from the first one. But I just wanted to show you what is capable with Rumble. So the key trends you'll notice are, 1 to 6, meh, average. Once you get Sorks level 6, that's when you're like, go time, you can do whatever you really want. My biggest advice, guys, is push limits, test things, but more importantly, don't be afraid to mess up. Like, you go to a side lane play, it doesn't work, whoop-de-doo. And you'll notice that the better your side lane awareness gets, your tempo assessment, your intention within the lane, you'll find that there's just so many plays to do, and you'll just see more and more opportunities. Where you'll go wrong on this champion, what will happen when you first play this champion is that you either won't know how to take favorable trades because you're not managing heat or not utilizing the Comet Scorch procs, or you're not willing to trade aggressively to bully them off the lane or trade HP for the wave in order to do things. So again, it will take time to get used to. It is very awkward. Like, for me, I actually lost a lot of I lost like the first 25 games I played. It was very, very hard. But once you get the feel for it, it is an incredibly fun champion. If you have any questions about this champion, leave it below. Message me in the Discord, whatever. And thank you for everyone who watches my videos and supports me, and especially those who signed up to my Patreon. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.